Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Words in the thesaurus for sad: melancholy, mournful, pessimistic, somber, sorrowful. These are all words to describe this week's episode of Sports Talk Philadelphia. After a bye week, the Eagles come out. Well, we got a good bye coming up later. That's another sad part. But after a bye week, the Eagles came out and had a pretty disgusting 27 to 17. I can't even speak today. Lost to the Giants at MetLife. Terrible team. I think it's fair to say at this point. I think we'll just hop right into it. I want to talk about the big decision of the week. I'll start with you, Tyler. That 2-point conversion, the second one, what happened there? What was Doug thinking? Was there any rational reasoning for that?
No. I mean, like, he got the first one. I've been saying it time and time again, I'm for it because the numbers back it up. To make it a 2-score game, I didn't really understand that. I'm going to let Austin and Sam take the Doug slander because I think there are real conversations to be had. I mean, 0 for 9 on third down. The play call, which is coming out of the bye week, I can't believe they were that flat-footed. I want to talk about the defense for a little second because I'm not crazy upset for the reasons that you may think for this loss to the Giants. I think that the Giants have proven themselves as a threat for the NFC East, which is crazy enough, but they're a good enough team to beat the Eagles because of that defense. And the defense for the Giants is a glaring issue for what the Eagles should be. Now, the Giants have such a strong secondary. I mean, Bradbury's been a phenomenal player. They have 7 overall players that have an interception this season. And Bradbury, I mean, he locked down Fulgham in this game. 2 pass deflections, only 5 targets, and 1 of them were caught. But you look at the Eagles, they blitz 23.6% of the time. That's the lowest. That's the bottom third of the NFL. But their pressure percentage on quarterbacks is 25.3%, which is the 6th highest in the NFL. That means that they never bring pressure, and yet they're still getting to the quarterback. And their missed tackles is tied for 8th least with only 56 on the season. So you see all these problems, and what's the only thing that you got to think? You should be blitzing more. Schwartz is doing a terrible job of keeping them together because what is the Eagles' biggest flaw? Their biggest Achilles heel is giving up the run. They're 25th, 26th in rush yards and rush touchdowns in the NFL, where in passing yards and passing touchdowns are 5th and 6th best in the NFL. And we're going to get to this in a little bit, but this Browns game coming up, they're going to get walloped if they don't change something soon. They have to pack the box because now that Wyatt Teller is back, the left guard for the Browns, and they have Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they're going to run all over this team. And I don't know what's going to happen there, but I think the defense is the biggest glaring issue right now, but also Doug is a terrible problem.
Do you believe this team won the Super Bowl 2 years ago? Just think back 2 years ago. We still have a large chunk of these players on our team. Not a lot has changed. And this was a Super Bowl winning team 2 years ago. It's just interesting to look back at that and see what has happened up until this week, which is one of the worst displays of NFL football I've ever watched in my life. I mean, you have Doug just calling the abysmal 2-point conversion, not feeding his running back, averaging 6.3 carries per attempt. What's going through this guy's head at this point? I feel like he's trying to prove that he's still this big macho man on the field and he'll just go for it. But it's not like he has the team to pull stuff like that off anymore. Like over the bye week, he should have rethought almost that whole entire playbook. And it just looks like they're eating Haagen-Dazs for a whole week. Nothing really happened.
Yeah, Doug thinks he's Teflon and everything. He's not. You know, I said a few weeks ago, I didn't want to use the F word on him, but I'm going to use the F word. Doug Peterson is a fraud of a head coach. He is very bad. He is very overrated. And I saw the end of Ron Rivera, and that was terrible. Doug Peterson is disgustingly bad. Some of these decisions I wouldn't even make in Madden. And that's a video game. That means nothing to me. And I got an interesting stat. So 7 of the last Eagles 12 wins, the last 2 years, have come against quarterbacks who aren't NFL starters. Case Keenum, he's a backup on the Browns. Luke Falk, he's out of the league. Mitch Trubisky, backup on the Bears. Eli Manning, retired. Dwayne Haskins, third string on the football team. Nick Mullins, backup on the 49ers. And Ben DiNucci, third string on the Cowboys. I mean, come on. That's 7 of your 12 wins in the last 2 seasons coming up against quarterbacks that aren't starting caliber. He's not a good coach.
Let me just get a little cut. Is Doug Peterson not a good coach or not a good play caller?
Both.
There's a distinction there.
Both.
Both.
Or at least not recently, because I want to go off to that point also because
lately, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no. And Sam says like you don't have the personnel out there to be pulling off the things that you're pulling off, like these 2-point conversions and whatnot. You do, except the main man, Carson Wentz, is just beside himself right now. I mean, we keep forgetting to talk about him because if you look at the numbers, him and Daniel Jones, the Eagles and the Giants overall had a very similar games. I mean, total yards is 382 to 346 Giants. First downs were dead even, 22 to 22. Possession was 31 minutes for the Giants, 28 minutes for the Eagles. Like dead even game. And so were the play between Jones and Wentz. But Wentz's was just, if you watched, was just abysmal compared. And it's because of play calling. It's because he doesn't know how to go off his first read in the receptions. It's because of a multitude of reasons. And I think it goes down to Doug above all else.
I've been waiting for this day for years. I've been waiting for this day to see that Eagles fan. The jig is up. Carson Wentz is not a good quarterback. I've been screaming this from the rooftops since 2017. It was a flawed MVP year. He's just not good. And so many things are going wrong for this team. And I don't know what the right direction is at the moment.
And he got outcoached by Joe Judge, a coaching hire that I loved because he is the exact opposite of Doug Peterson, not just in terms of competency, but just in terms of knowing when to risk it on the defensive side, in terms of knowing what personnel that you have. You lose Saquon earlier in the season. The Giants look 100 times better without Saquon right now than they do with him.
You want a coach that has some kuyuns, but you don't want a coach that has kuyuns that don't make sense, like some of those 2-point conversions Doug Peterson's going for. Like
what is the rationale? I've never seen a more unanimous blasted decision than that second 2-point. I don't know anybody that thinks that was a good idea. I don't know why you would ever make a decision like that. Is there any rationale for that at all?
I literally can't defend it at all.
That was insane. I've never.
The only thing it makes sense is that they went on a field goal, but it's so early in the game.
Yeah,
I'm not even coming down to that. And if they scored a touchdown, still a 2-possession game. You should be going based off possession games, not just you could win or tie on a field goal.
That decision screams desperation to me. That decision seems like something that somebody would make where he's not in the right mindset. And
if Jake Elliott's hurt. I haven't heard anything about that, but
he's not good healthy either.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's good on the team. I don't think is there one player.
Here's the thing.
Besides Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham's been a stud. And that's the other thing and I could go on this defense all day because it was a defensive game and they got outperformed. And Schwartz is responsible for that just because of his play call. But their offensive weapons are there. I mean, that's what I was trying to say. Carson Wentz has been struggling. The receiving core is there. I mean, you give me any team that spreads the ball around like the Eagles did this game. I mean, Rodgers had 4 for 60. Rager had 4 for 47. Ward had 5 for 39. Goddard had 4 for 32. That's spreading the wealth around. And you have a running game where you have 95 yards out of Sanders, and you get from Boston Scott, who's supposed to now be your third down versatile back, that I love him in that role, and he breaks it off for a 56-yard touchdown run. That is an electric offense. You put those numbers together, you should have a win 9 times out of 10, and it falls on the defensive end of the football.
Go ahead, Sam.
You need a quarterback to tie that all together, too. You can have the weapons, but we have Wentz out there. I might as well put a high school starting football player in there. I don't know what to do anymore. I mean, the commentators for this game just hammered this point of, look at Daniel Jones. He's getting sacked, but he's holding on to that ball. That's something we don't see Wentz do. He's going to fumble every time. I was like, wow, how refreshing would it be to have a quarterback that's not turning the ball over 5 times a game and just looking absolutely abysmal. This was one of his worst performances yet. I mean, they're all pretty bad. He hasn't had – we're going into halftime. I was like, oh, maybe he'll turn it on like usual second half. No, that second half was just as mediocre as the first half. I mean, yeah, the Eagles got the ball out, they distributed, they scored. Then Daniel Jones would answer with a 3-play scoring drive. I mean, these Eagles just don't have what it takes anymore.
And you can't use injuries as an excuse for Carson Wentz anymore. He had the full arsenal. Maybe Deshaun, but Deshaun's like 68 years old. He's the shell.
This is the healthiest they've been in weeks.
Yeah, years. I'd say years.
Absolutely.
I'd say years.
So, and that's where we're just going to have to throw it out now. After this season, seeing what we've seen from both sides, is no longer Dak and Carson. It's now become Dak and Carson Wentz and Daniel Jones. Now they're head for head because, like you said, Sam, that was a great point you brought up because Daniel Jones has a horrid turnover problem, but yet he realizes that he can back on that defense. They are so pesky. They've kept them in every single game. There's only been one game this entire season that the Giants have lost by more than 10 points, and it was just that 49ers fluke of a win. They held the Bucks to 2 points. They held the Rams to 6 points. They've had phenomenal games, and it's because the reason they lose is because Daniel Jones turns over the ball. He's just a game manager right now. Carson Wentz has become purely a game manager, and the defense doesn't have the backings that it can to actually have him win games.
I don't know if Carson Wentz versus Daniel Jones is a fair argument to Daniel Jones. I think the better argument is Carson Wentz to Ben DiNucci.
That's what I was about to say.
My opinion.
I'll do that comparison.
Listen, he's not a good quarterback. And listen, they will never do this for a multitude of reasons. One of them being they want to justify the big old contract they gave him, but they got to sit him down. This is unacceptable, especially in a city like Philadelphia. Why aren't they holding this guy accountable more? What's going on? They're playing so bad they can't let fans back into the stadium anymore. They don't want to hurt the player feelings.
Well, that's an interesting point that you brought up. I did want to ask, do you see at any point they got a rough schedule? I actually think it's rated like the toughest schedule in the league.
It is.
Browns, Seahawks, Packers, Saints, and Cardinals coming up. That is a brutal schedule. Do you think we see Jalen Hurts minus an injury to Carson, God forbid, but do you see Jalen Hurts at all in any of these games for any reason?
Yeah, that injury might happen though. Given this guy's history.
Minus the injury, I could see another 2 weeks of this mediocrity. Hurts going in. I think.
Yeah, why not see what you got?
I don't, because I just don't think that's who they drafted. I think he's a project, even though he was a second rounder. It still doesn't make sense. I think they ride it out with Wentz, but what they have to do, and I'm going to just keep alluding to this Browns team that they're playing next week. They should run literally the same exact offense as the Browns. They will never do that because they want Carson Wentz to get his 35 to 40 passing attempts in per game. But a great game for that, or you could even equate them to the Vikings. But just looking at the Browns because they're coming up because they have a two-headed monster that is, I mean, a Dollar Tree version would be Boston Scott game compared to Kareem Hunt, obviously, but still like having that comparison of two versatile backs that can really push it down their throat. You can even look at the Vikings as well. Like if Baker Mayfield has like 20 to 25 passing attempts and it just keeps the ratio kind of similar, that's a beautiful game. Carson Wentz can dominate in that fashion. If they're forced to press the box, he loves going out of the pocket. I mean, we've seen him do it in 3-man dropbacks, let alone when there's actually pressure coming. If he gets outside the pocket and can actually start moving and getting those one-on-one opportunities, because now you don't have to worry about Fulgham being double covered throughout the game because they know he's going to get at least 20 looks or drawn up plays for him. It's going to be a whole different team. And I think that's what they have to do to keep Carson Wentz in this game and to get his full potential back, because I'm not going completely with this loss of memory of how good he was a couple of years ago, but he's just not that same quarterback. So you have to get him back to that spot.
How do you
Go, Sam.
I was going to say, how do you get him back to that level then?
That's what I'm saying. You get him like those 15 to 20 attempts, play action rollouts, get him easy. How did Lamar Jackson become an MVP last season? He has a good arm. Obviously he's better than Carson Wentz. I'm not trying to compare that. You put him in the best position possible. He's not good at throwing outside the numbers. Roll him outside, cut the field in half, and make those easy throws to your tight ends. You're getting Ertz back this week probably. You have Dallas Goedert, who's one of the top tight ends in the NFL. Just give him those easy throws, and that will bring him back, hopefully. You're running out of options.
I would say Lamar. I mean, part of the reason Lamar won MVP was because he ran the ball like no other quarterback.
Oh, I'm just saying purely throwing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This week, so we can't really talk about him positively.
Poor Cam. He's
Oh,
doesn't look right.
just to wrap up this Giants game, and then we'll move on to some Browns predictions and then fast five. Criticism for Wentz, criticisms for the team, criticism for the coaching. Who gets the blunt of the blame? Is it a personnel thing? Because I see a lot of talent on this Giants team, and in a lot of ways, like Wayne Gallman isn't a bad running back, and they got Darius Slayton. There was a Darius Slay on Darius Slayton matchup, which was
I
great.
like that.
Advantage Slayton.
It was like a just 3 letters, and it would have been a perfect matchup. Where was I saying? Sterling Shepard. They got some good players on this team. So is it more a personnel thing, or is it more a coaching thing?
So it goes Doug, he's going to get the most. Carson, Jim Schwartz, rest of our complaints. But Doug should be seeing the most of it right now. So, I mean, yeah, Carson's terrible, but Doug's out there with his little puppet strings controlling them, telling them what to do. I mean, yeah, he's setting them up for unsuccessful plays. I mean, what else can you expect?
I think part of the blame goes outside of the game. I think part of the blame goes to Howie Roseman for the construction of the roster. And like I said it earlier in the year, I don't remember when, but why is every cornerback on your team minus Darius Slay a nickel cornerback? Like you're forced to play one of those guys outside. And the thing is, like with this team, and I was thinking about this, and I was doing a little research. Since the Super Bowl, they've been about a 500 team. Give or take a few games. I don't remember the exact count. But to me, this just seems like a team that, I mean, for years to come, unless they get lucky and bottom out and get a really good draft pick, they're going to be in this purgatory where they're not good enough to make the playoffs. And if they do, they'll win a game maybe, but not reach the Super Bowl, let alone win it. But they're not going to be bad enough to get a franchise-changing draft pick. And that's the problem with this team. They look so mediocre. They look so middle of the road, so average in all aspects of the game, from the coaching to the players. Again, I don't think they're going to do it. I think they got to blow it up.
They absolutely won't. Like,
not.
I think there's just certain cities where there are teams that want to do that. And there's certain cities that you just can't tank in. I mean, New York, Boston, Philadelphia.
What about Sixers?
What about, yeah.
This is football, though. That's
and plus, no. And I'm thinking for any sport. And think about how hated that was. Yeah, we joke about it now, trust the process, because they're a good team. When they were winning 8-9 games, it was hated by 80 and 90%. You went on talk radio, that's all you heard. So I think that there's just certain cities that can't do that. But you're 100% right. I mean, they need a difference maker on that defensive side. Slay should be that, and he has been. I mean, if you don't hear from a quarterback or cornerback and you don't know his name, usually doing a good job.
Yep.
So you can kind of make that argument. I think above all else, it's Schwartz, though. I mean, and I'm going to keep hammering this point home. There are only 2 players on this team that are not D linemen that have a sack on the season. It's Slay and Mills. That's it. Everyone else, Brandon Graham basically, and everyone else, he has 7.5 sacks on the season. The next closest is 4. You're not bringing enough pressure, and look at the Seahawks. The Seahawks should be the best team in football, but they're 32nd in pass pressure and 31st in sacks in the NFL. They don't get pressure. You have to drop back to zones, or you go man to man. You give a quarterback 6 to 8 seconds. It could be a range from Kirk Cousins to Patrick Mahomes. They're all going to find the open man. Sorry, Kirk Cousins, I don't like you. So you just need to bring pressure. You need to stack a box more because you're getting run right down your throat. And it's just terrible to see. So I think it goes on Schwartz above anything else.
Tyler, I don't know about you, but I kind of enjoyed when the Sixers were bad because that meant $15 tickets, 4 rows from courtside.
Yeah, that is it's a good plus. You're an optimist.
all right. We'll skip the Browns predictions. I think it's fair to say we're all expecting a loss.
Yeah, they're going to lose. It's only a matter of how much they lose by.
Yeah.
And wait, just quickly. You talk about getting a first round draft pick. You're not going to take a quarterback. Like if you start tanking, I don't think, unless Carson gets really bad. You want to talk about a difference maker? Wyatt Teller for the Browns. With him this season, they have 811 rushing yards. It's 162 per game. Without him, they have 95.5 per game. He's a left guard. He was a first round pick 2 years ago, I think. And he is a difference maker. That's what the Eagles need. They don't need a showboat like a Trevor Lawrence to New York kind of thing. They need someone like that.
And there is a guard called Wyatt Davis in this draft from Ohio State, who has first round talent written all over him. And I think the Eagles can use a new left guard. So maybe a potential player to go to Philly.
All right. We have to move into fast five here. We're running out of time a little bit, and we do need to say goodbye to a producer at the end of the show. But speaking of the draft, the NBA draft is this week, actually tomorrow, I think. So it'll already have happened by the time this show airs. But and then free agency is right afterwards. So who do you want the Sixers to target in either the draft or free agency this year?
I want them, and they never, ever, 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 ever do this. This has to be the time you get a Villanova player. Sadiq Bey, I watched Sadiq Bey play so many games. He brings intensity on defense. He can shoot the ball. He has athleticism. He could drive it to the hoop. I think he'd be the perfect player for the Sixers. But we know they don't like drafting Villanova guys, and that always comes back to haunt them because some Villanova guys are pretty good in the NBA. And I did see a rumor. I hear a rumor that Isaiah Joe, I think he's from Arkansas. He has a verbal agreement. I don't know how true that is with the Sixers to be picked at either 21 or 34. So that's certainly a name to look out for them.
It's actually funny. You took mine, Sadiq Bey, a perfect 3-and-D guy.
Absolutely.
He will be huge for them. Whether it's trading back for a pick and picking up a veteran shooter or what have you, I will hammer it home until I can't anymore. They need to spread the court. If they're going to keep going with Simmons and Embiid, you have to get congestion out of the paint. Sadiq Bey will be my guy.
All right. Week 10 just wrapped up in the NFL, almost at the end of the season. Who's your star of the week this week? I'm combining two old segments together. MVP of the week.
Oh, where's Tyler go?
Hi, Tyler.
He couldn't handle this question.
Kyler Murray. I mean, Kyler Murray, D-Hop, whichever one you want to choose. Yeah, there it is.
Okay. Yeah, he had a great game.
Closeted Cardinals fan, Tyler Small.
I could also get my Kyler Murray jersey if you want. Does it even have to be said what happened over the weekend? That was unbelievable.
I'd say Ronald Jones of the Buccaneers. Listen, you guys know I'm a Carolina fan. What that run was just demoralizing because after he broke it off for 98 yards, that everything just fell apart. Teddy Bridgewater got hurt. It was just a disaster. And so I give it to Ronald Jones because not only did he have one of the longest runs in NFL history, but he also decimated a team's morale in the process. So,
plus that he made that game put the Bucs in the number one contention for the NFC. They are so above the Packers, it's not even funny.
Until they beat the Saints, I still got the Saints.
All right, we'll keep it moving here. Rumors are swirling around about James Harden that he does want out of Houston. There's also a big rumor saying he wants to go to the Nets. Where do you see him going?
I think he's taking a one-way flight to Brooklyn. That seems to be the destination, and that'll be fun to see in that locker room. You got Strip Club James, you got conspiracy theorist Kyrie, and you got burner account KD. So I mean, what can go wrong in that locker room?
The only thing that's going to be grosser than that locker room is going to be, I think he's going to the Nets too, obviously, is going to be how many 24-second violations they're going to have just off pettiness, not giving each other the ball. It's going to be, as I've said in weeks past, James Harden makes my toes curl. I hate the way he plays the game of basketball in the NBA. And it's the way that everyone's going because it's not him. And he obviously has the talent to score and do the things that he does. But the three of them together, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the novelty with him going to the Nets. I mean, is he like trying to pursue some kind of rap career in Brooklyn or something we don't know about? I mean, what's going on with that? He turned down $50 million extra dollars a year to stay in Houston
with no state tax, let alone that's $50 million guaranteed.
Big. That's big.
All right. This one will have to be really quick. I keep doing this. I keep writing down topics and I never put a question. Nick Foles carted off the field at the end of the game. I didn't even see the video, so I don't know. But I guess the question is there a player that deserves it less than Nick Foles to a Philadelphia sports fan? How brutal to see that for our old friend Nick. Guess it's not a question. I'm answering my own question.
I think he's only good in the Eagles uniform. He's not good if you put him in all 31 other uniforms. He's not.
And he shouldn't have been in another uniform.
Brett Favre.
Right, should have kept him over Wentz.
That's a Favre take. Okay. All right. So I got to bring in our producer friend, Nick KERR, graduating this. Let's everybody do a little clap. There we go.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Taps.
And I believe you have a goodbye speech for us written.
Yeah, a little impromptu speech going off the fly here. All right, so I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to produce this show, me bombarding you with like all the emails and text messages, and allowing this show to happen. And I really want to thank Tanya for allowing me to produce the show and allowing me to like be a crew member for the past 3 years. And I just made a whole bunch of like friendships through doing LaSalle TV, and a special thanks to like the producers last year, Josh and Tyler, who like really pushed me to become a producer. So thanks, guys. I hope you guys do the best with this show, and thanks.
Yes, thank you, Nick, for your hard work.
Tyler,
Great season. Weird circumstances, very odd. Started off a little slow, I think, but I think we really got it down. So yeah, thank you. Let's do one more clap. Yeah. Okay. I screwed up the time here, so we're a little under, but I don't have any more questions. So thanks for watching this season, everybody. That's a wrap on Sports Talk Philadelphia. If anybody else wants to give a goodbye, you have about like 2 minutes to do so, or something like that.
Let's just
around that.
Stay safe.
let's just talk
Happy
word.
holidays.
Nothing to talk about. I got nothing.
Let's talk about how Cam Newton is good.
Yeah, he beat Nick's team, the Ravens. That was really fun to watch. I mean, I just like seeing the Ravens lose. It just seeing Nick sad just makes me happy. I don't know what it.
I mean,
Gee, thanks, Sam. Thanks.
I mean, it's tough. Is anyone going to tell Lamar Jackson that if he's playing in a monsoon, he should probably put some sleeves on? He's kind of struggling to hold on to the ball there, and so is his receivers.
He's also the F word as well. He's a fraud.
Yes, I agree. I don't know what you said earlier, Tyler, but I wouldn't take Lamar over Carson.
No, I was not saying that at all. I'm saying
I didn't
Hold on.
the way that
You guys are
Harbaugh.
supposed to be sending me out on a high. You're sending me out on a low.
All right, you've
All right,
seen your
I'm
team
sorry.
win 2 Super Bowls. All right,
Yeah, that's true. I've been to 2 parades, and you all have been to 1.
I've been to
And-
0.
Yeah.
My team. I've seen my team lose 2 times.
Okay, but the majority have seen 1. I've been to 2 parades.
Nick, remember when your team had a good quarterback when they won their first Super Bowl, and his name is
Joe
Tyrod?
Flacco elite.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's Tyrod.
Damn.
All right, we gotta wrap it here.
All right.
Bowler,
Yeah,
shout out
wrap
Kyle
it.
Bowler.
Thanks
shout
for
out
watching.
there.
Goodbye.